longer. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the May edition of our talks. I think this is number 10 that we've done. Tonight, I'm really delighted to welcome Donna Bridgewater to come and talk to us about her getting through this project. Donna will no doubt share all the background behind the project, but I first saw it some months ago on the BBC website. I thought, there's somebody that we really ought to see on our talks because of how it fits not just with contemporary photography but within the pandemic. So I'm going to hand over to Donna in a moment if I can stop sharing. And stop sharing. And then Donna will talk to us. There we go. So Donna, over to you, I think.
Yeah, so I'll just share my screen.
While Donna's getting her screen share up, if anybody's got any questions, please put them into the chat screens, and Romney will be picking these up as we go through, and we can ask questions. Donna, have you got an appropriate point, or how do you feel about questions?
Yeah, that's fine for questions. That's good. So right. Nice to meet everybody. So, and yeah, thank you for the opportunity for me to talk about the project. So I don't know, can everybody see the slide if I make it a little bit bigger? Is that all good? That's
yep.
Good. Okay, so yeah, so my name's Donna Bridgewater, and I hope that everybody's having a good evening as well. The sun's shining here. Don't know about everybody else, but yeah, and that everybody's had a good day. So I started the project Getting Through This quite a few months ago now, and I feel that the project Getting Through This is a project that can really support mental health, and it's a project also to let people know that they're not alone. And I think that's the thing with mental health. From my own experience with mental health, it's a real struggle, and sometimes you do feel like you're alone, even though you have a lot of people around you. Yeah, so it's a really nice project, and it's something that I absolutely love working on. So my inspiration for the project was because in 2019, way before COVID came to our world, I lost a massive part of my life, and that was my sister, Donna Bridgewater, and yeah, she was a massive part of my life, and it felt like I lost a big part of my whole life and structure, to be honest, because we lived together, and we did everything together, from going out, exploring woodlands, going to dinner, going shopping, and that was really difficult for me, to have lost somebody so close to my heart. So I lost Leanne to suicide, and even every day now it's very painful. And I kind of find ways to deal with that. But yeah, and she's a massive inspiration for the project, really. She was a very kind-hearted and beautiful person. So, and I miss her every day. So, as you can see from some of these pictures, Leanne was a very creative person. So a lot of the time she loved being in the outdoors and being in nature. She was a published poet as well. And I feel like a lot of her creative outlet was kind of a little bit of a release of her own mental health. So I knew, the dark feelings that she would, but she would never communicate those feelings. And I feel like, her own creative processes was a way for her to kind of release those feelings and those emotions. And, even when we lived together, I noticed a few months before she passed, she stopped doing things that she loved doing. So she stopped performing, she stopped doing workshops, writing, painting, and I feel like a lot of everything that she stopped doing kind of made all these thoughts go on in her mind, and I'll never have the answers for that. But and yeah, so she was a big part of my life, and even when we found a lot of Leanne's items, there was scraps. So with her, there was scraps of paper, and normally you'd always see Leanne with a pen or a paintbrush, and she'd be constantly doodling or writing. And even those last few days, there was plain pieces of paper. So I feel that was art and poetry and forming and just being in the outdoors was a massive part of her and to help her own self. See some of the pictures of Leanne. So
No, it says getting through this conversation.
sorry.
It's all right. Somebody was speaking and I muted everybody again. If you want to put questions to Donna, please put them in chat and we'll pick them up.
Yeah, I think hard about getting through this. I think with mental health as well. Mental health is really difficult, and I think at any stage that with any kind of mental health that you're dealing with, getting through this, there's always stages to help you through each process of how you're feeling. So that's so getting through this, I feel, can hopefully help people get through their kind of feelings of how they're feeling, but also if they're struggling in the day. So something that I feel as well, mental health is not it's not spoke about enough. I don't know if a lot of you might agree with that, and it is. I think it's a very taboo subject that people don't seem to talk about it, and it's it's difficult. And I know even with mental health, it's very difficult to express how you're feeling, and to talk about your emotions. And somebody actually said not long ago that using photography as a powerful tool to talk about mental health. And I feel like it's a way for me to to capture these different messages, but also to share them with people and to let more people know that you might be struggling, but it's okay not to be okay.
Just say no. Just say no.
It's good because it gives you something. It's crunchy and sweet. So there.
So, and like I've got two different pictures here, and so we've got Ipidis that he expressed, life is beautiful, enjoy every moment, and that's a very positive message. You could feel really down, and for somebody to look at that message and think, actually, that's given me a little bit of light today. And then we've got Olivia, who is a student at Birmingham University, and she's just coming out of her master's degree. And she's anxious about finding a job after graduation. So a lot of these messages have been captured through the pandemic, but I know my own self of being at university, you always kind of think, where am I going to go after uni? And that's, a lot of young people struggle with that as well. So I feel like the project could be something that I am going to continue after the pandemic. So they're two completely different messages that we have on the boards. So a lot of people have kind of asked, so how did you think of the messages on the board? So back in 2011, I used to do a bit of work for the Coventry Telegraph Newspaper, and I always think back to the cardboard, and also, and how they used the process and wrote on the cardboard to express the protests that was going on and to get, to engage people in the public. And also a few years back, me and Leanne attended an animal protest, and I remember being at the animal protest and people would write. So Leanne was an animal activist, so she was a hunt saboteur as well. So, but she was very into nature and looking after animals. So we would do a lot of animal protests together, and there was a charity there that would write on the boards and then change and write the messages and then change the message. And it wasn't until recently that I approached the project to the vice principal at Hereward, the college where I work at, and she's an ex art history lecturer. And she says, you know, from my years when I was lecturing, I don't know if you've come across, but Gillian Waring and her work and how similar it is. And I've heard this over the past few months, and I've really enjoyed looking at Gillian's Waring's work and seeing how similar it is. And yeah, so it's been really great to find out about her work as well. So just a little bit about me, really. So for a lot of years I've been teaching, and I teach at a special needs college in Coventry, and I run a business called Bridgewater Photography, which is supported through the Prince's Trust. So I'm very linked with the Prince's Trust, and I love what they offer to young people. So I do youth ambassador role for them. But going back to the teaching, over the years, I've worked with a lot of non-vocal learners that, you know, that struggle to express or communicate, and a lot of, you know, because they find they could be like highly anxious. And so a lot of students that I've worked with over the past few years, they would write, you know, they would write on a piece of paper to communicate with me. And I think that's why the board is such a powerful tool, to give people a little platform to kind of write a message of whatever or however they want to express how they're feeling. But yeah, and something, so this was a picture that I did so the start of the pandemic, and this is Jacob, and he's a student from Birmingham University, and he expressed that, you know, he's feeling frustrated and stressed. So, you know, with every person that I meet with the project, I always have a little chat with them, and, you know, we spoke about our own struggles with mental health, and, you know, that was really nice to actually, you know, to speak with people, and just to kind of give them a little bit of an open platform, to see how they're feeling as well. And something that Jacob actually said was that, you know, he almost felt anonymous by writing on the board, even though he's pictured in the photograph and he's the subject in the photograph. He almost feels anonymous just by the writing on the board, and that was really interesting and something that I really liked. Yeah, and we've got two completely different messages here as well. Sorry guys. So we've got Eliza, and she actually said, you know, even through the pandemic, but also after the pandemic, before the pandemic, she said that the anxiety is always there, just some days I'm better at hiding it. And I think this relates a lot to mental health. And, you know, I think when you do have mental health, you do kind of hide how you're feeling. Some people do, but some people do like to talk about it as well. And then we've got a completely different message, which is Raul. And he was starting a business through the pandemic, and he actually wanted to send over a positive message to people and say, you know, if you woke up today, you're already winning. And for me, it was just to see that message. You know, if you're really, really struggling, you could see it and think, actually, do you know what? I'm going to get up today and I'm just going to, you know, and it might just give some people a little bit of light to kind of get them through the day, if they're not feeling the best. And then also we've got Lottie, who's a student at Birmingham University, and so hers was just a message of, you know, appreciate the little things, and that's a really nice message, just to remind people that, you know, just to look around what you've got, and just appreciate the little things, just like Lottie said, she loves having a cup of tea. And then you've got Laura, and Laura has not been able to work through the pandemic, and she said it was a hard year, but better things are coming. So as you can see, the messages are very completely different. Somebody recently said that they really loved as well. So it was recently in the Amateur Photography magazine, and that was more of an article about the equipment that I use. And he said how clean the backdrops look. And I do tend to try and focus on the subject and the boards, and I move the subjects around as well. So it might be that I have a group of people, but I'll move them around in the location as well. So it looks like a complete different location. And then Vincent, so Vincent is probably the oldest person that I've photographed so far. And he was very frustrated. So through the pandemic, he was glad that I stopped and spoke to him as well. He actually expressed and that's with a lot of people that I've found. He said, you know, I'm glad that we've had a chat today because nobody's actually asked me how I'm feeling. And that really, you know, that's something that I've heard quite a lot when working on the project. And Vincent said that he felt like a negative feeling about the virus and he wanted it to end. And then you have a complete different message from Awa, and she said that, you know, through the pandemic, she found out who her true friends are. So there's very different messages from a lot of different people, from different backgrounds and different ages as well. So the process of doing the project. So I find it's been very difficult, to be honest, finding people at the start. A lot of people, when you stop them in the streets, they're like, oh no. And some people have thought, you know, they've asked if I'm selling something, and I'm like, no. So then I do be open with them, and I mention about, you know, the background and why it is that I'm working on the project. So I do open up about, you know, my own mental health struggles that I've had in the past, and also I open up about you know, the loss of my sister to suicide, and just giving them that open space, it almost gives a little bit of me to them and lets them know a bit more about me. So it's been a difficult process finding people, but it's getting easier. And it might be that some people don't want to get involved, and I've been quite happily to just have a chat with somebody outside of Birmingham Market and just have a chat and just see how they are feeling, because a lot of people, like I've said, have said, you know, I'm glad that you stopped me today, and we've had that chat, and I feel better for opening up to you. So sometimes it's not just about getting a photograph with the project. I love actually the interaction, but yeah, I do find that I have to persevere, and sometimes I can be standing in Birmingham town and it'll be probably about an hour and nobody stops, and I'll just be like, I've just got to persevere. And I had to, each time I've had to change that mindset as well, and just told myself that somebody will stop and somebody will give a message, but also it's good that people are just opening up if they like. Creating the messages, I make sure, so each person that gets involved, so I give them a little bit of time, and because I know when I've just stopped them in the street, it's kind of, they're a little bit like, and it's almost like you get a bit of a mind block. And so I give them a little bit of time, and, you know, and just say, just take your time, it's fine, just write whatever you feel. It can be one word if you like, it can be a sentence, it's whatever you feel you want to write on that board, and whatever you want to show people as well. And it is, and a lot of people, that when they say, oh, what is it that I write, and sometimes I say, you know, are you feeling stressed, or have you struggled with anxiety, and I will bring that into the conversation, or it might be that you want to, you know, send a positive message out to people, so I leave that as an open space for them to write whatever they want on that board. With every photograph that I take, I make sure that I have a model release form. So that's really important, you know, to make sure that they know where their picture's going as well. And something that I do as well is I have my business card, because I have been putting the project onto Instagram and Facebook. And through the website as well. And on the business card, I've recently been in contact with Birmingham Mind, and they've given me this lovely little business card here, and it's more of an information card, and I have that attached to the business card, and that's been really helpful because there's a lot of people that don't get involved or people that do get involved, and they actually open up quite a lot. And sometimes I always walk away and think, oh gosh, what else could I have done? And I always mention the charities that are out there, but I never really have something that I can give to them. And that's been really helpful because people have opened up, and it's kind of at least then that gives them something where they can contact. And everybody that gets involved, they each get a print, so I leave that up to them. Like I asked them, you know, I can send you a print, and I've been able to send some prints out, and also, you know, they share it through social media as well. And also some people, I've met some people that have family members and their own friends that are struggling with mental health. So they've said, actually, oh, we'll show this project to, you know, people that we know that could really do with seeing this project, and that's been really good as well. So with every person that gets involved, but anybody that sees the project, I always ask for feedback. And I just thought I'd share a little bit of feedback of what people have said. So we have Lucas, and he actually said, you know, just by stopping, actually made me feel heard, and just by participating in the project, it helped me to get whatever he was feeling off his chest. So that was really good. And then we have Rule that says, you know, I have to say about this project, I think this is one of the most socially responsible works that I've seen during the pandemic. And it gives people an opportunity not only to vent, but also to let others know how they have been feeling. And it's been really nice to hear the different feedback that I've been getting with the project. And also something I ask is, you know, where do you feel that this project would be best suited? And, you know, where would you like to see it? Because that's something that's been really something where I'd like to push the project next as well. And then we have Laura. So she said, I think this project is wonderful because it focuses on mental health, and people are still scared to talk about it. And I think as well with, you know, in my own reflection with Leanne and knowing Leanne as a person, you know, she found it very difficult to talk about it. And, you know, I think because we lived together, I would know, you know, I'd pick up on the signs when she wasn't feeling her best. And then you have Rachel. Yeah, so I thought this project was lovely, and I think it can be really difficult to talk about how you're feeling, and that's really good because it kind of gives, the project gives people an open platform to express how they're feeling. And then you have Max. So he said, I think the project is uplifting. It's nice to see positive messages, but also nice to hear ones that aren't positive, because it makes you feel like you're not alone in the way I've been feeling during the pandemic. So even though, you know, Max is a very, you know, he said, like, you know, I've been struggling. He's a very confident person, he said, and, you know, and just, you know, just by expressing myself, it's just helped today. And he said, you know, people can relate to the messages that they see as well. So the media with the project. So I've been working on the project over the last few months, and I reached out to so somebody that I met, so John Bray at the BBC. And John actually, he came to Hereward College when I won the regional award for the Enterprise Award for the Prince's Trust in the West Midlands. And he came and did a piece at the college, and we've stayed in contact since. And I mentioned the project to him and says, you know, would it be something that the BBC would be willing to print? And he was like, yeah, and he shared it with people at the BBC, and he was like, they absolutely love the project, and, you know, we're willing to put it out there as a as an article, especially with the current times that we're living in. So then it went on to the BBC, and then and then Alan, so thank you for approaching. So Alan saw it on the BBC, and then, you know, asked me if I'd be willing, well, if I'd be interested in doing a talk with the contemporary group at the Royal Photographic Society, and, you know, and it's just been fantastic. So then I kept working. I've been continuously working on the project, and a lot of, when it went up on BBC, a lot of my friends and also customers contacted me, and they were like, "Oh, your article's like the top one in the Midlands for that weekend," and it was just lovely just reading the comments, and also just I think for me, just to know that this project and these messages are getting to more and more people, it just makes me feel really happy, because I hope that, you know, one of these messages can make people feel like, actually, do you know what, I feel this way today, and it's okay, because I'm not alone in this world, and it's okay to feel this way. And or just to read a positive message and think, actually, this is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel of how I'm feeling. And it is, because mental health is really difficult. And from my own struggles, and from people that I know, it's one of these, you know, you have to find ways to help yourself get around it, and it's very difficult. And then from that, I reached out to the Prince's Trust. So the lovely Paul and Marcia, they you know, loved the project, which was really good. And Marcia mentioned about Zoe at Birmingham Mail, and well, Birmingham Live, and so then Zoe asked to do an interview, and it's just been amazing. I've had a few messages through the website as well, and it's just been great to hear the different comments, and for it to go out to lots of different people. And then I thought, well, I'll try and contact more people and see. And it's just, I think about just stretching and just letting more people know. So the digital camera world and the amateur photographers, so amateur photographers more, they wanted to know more about like the equipment that I would use to capture the subjects. And these two magazines were completely supportive with the project, and they said, you know, we love it, we're going to put it on the website, and they'll be willing to take it further into the magazine when I can let them know what happens with it. But I feel that's still a process where I need to work and see, you know, so I'm still getting a lot of comments and see where it can go next. And from the amateur photographer magazine, so Annette from Petapixel, she reached out and she said, you know, I really love the project, and, you know, I love how you're you know, getting these different messages in these different portraits. And she reached out, and that was a bit of a more detailed interview, which was really nice actually. And and that was a really good interview, and I found that kind of had lots of different interactions through the website from different people, and that was really good. And she has mentioned, and a few people have mentioned about a touring exhibition, but it's still, I feel I'm still kind of working that process out as well, and seeing what would be the next steps. So continuing the project. I have been working with the students at the college that I work at, and that's been really good. And they, you know, they've actually said, you know, I love working on the project, and it's been really nice to hear their messages as well. And, you know, just to kind of give them a voice as well. I think especially through the pandemic, it's been very difficult for everybody. But yeah, and it's been lovely to work with the students there at Hereward College, and you know, I will be continuing working with the students there. There's a school in Warwickshire that's reached out as well that said they want to link up. And then also I'd like to link with people at the Prince's Trust and the staff there. So I'd like to continue the project and get lots of different ages. Some people have asked about kids getting involved as well, so that's something that I never really thought of, but that would be interesting as well. I'm at the moment I'm linking with Mind in Birmingham, and they've been sharing, and they've asked me to go over to their hub for the day. And I'd love, ideally, I would love to link with different mental health charities around the whole of the UK. And yeah, and just see, see if I can go there for the day and take pictures. So Birmingham Mind Hub, they're really interested in me going there and, interacting with people and getting people involved with the project. And they said it's a really good project to allow people to, to talk about how they're feeling. And just to express and to to just give them a voice as well. Something as well, as I've continued with the project, a lot of people have said, can I not be in the photos? And I have started doing voice recordings, and that's something that I will be continuing with. So I will be doing a voice recording, and I think this is quite diverse as well, because somebody said online not long ago that, they said that they didn't mind me mentioning it, but they said, they were losing their hearing. So seeing the project and the messages was really useful. And it made me thinking about my own background with special needs as well. It might be that you have a blind person, if it was to go into an exhibition or online or wherever it goes, if there was different recordings, that would help, and it'd be more diverse for different people then as well. So that's something that I'm working on at the moment, is the voice recordings as well. I thought I'd put a little bit about mental health into it really. So as I've been working on the project, I've been looking at, the increase of mental health and how it's increased a lot. So from the national statistics, the report, I mean, this was from last year, but you can see how massively it's, it's actually rised. And especially like Mine did a survey through lockdown and a report, and they said that, lockdown has really affected a lot of lives. And I think even coming out of lockdown, people are struggling. If you think we've been locked up for so long, and it's even coming out. I mean, I recently went to, I thought I'll share my own experience. So I went to a vintage clothing sale, and because there was so many people, and I felt really anxious, and I was just like, and really overwhelmed. And I think there's a lot of people that are still struggling. And recently Mine did a survey, and they found that there's a lot of emergency workers that are struggling due to the pandemic, and they've set up a charity to help, people that are volunteering in emergency services and the workers. So that's really interesting, but even over the years, I mean, speaking to different people at Mind lately, they've said how there's been an increase in referrals, and it's an issue that is continuous, and I feel like this project could help a lot of people to express how they're feeling, or it might be that they just read a message and think, actually that relates to how I'm feeling. I feel really anxious today, and you know what, I feel really stressed and I don't want to leave the house today. And it might be that they read a message and just think, actually that might help me a little bit. So that's, yeah, so reading more and more about mental health as well, and hearing people's comments, it just kind of pushes me even more as well. And so these are comments that I've had, and this is coming out of lockdown. And like Fee, she said she's feeling hopeful and optimistic, but then you've got Daniel, who is a student at Birmingham University, and he says he's confused and everything is uncertain. I mean, and then you've got two completely complete different messages here, sorry. And you've got Lily, who's in her first year at university, and she said, I'm excited for a normal uni life. And that's a massive part of adulthood as well, is starting uni and having those experiences. So she's excited for that. But then you've got Kim, you know, she's a student, and she's scared of what the future holds, and you know, and they're complete different messages, and I just feel like a lot of the messages, people can read them and really relate to them. And then just thought I'd go through, so the next thing with getting through this, the project, so for me, I am continuing and building the project. My aim is to reach more and more people, and yeah, to spread the word about the project. I would love to have the exhibition in print as well. That's something I'm kind of working towards. So I'm listening to everybody's feedback and trying to think how I can work on the different bits of feedback that I'm getting, and how, you know, how others are seeing the project and where they would like it to be seen. And I think for me, like when I'm doing this project, and like recently it was in the journal for the contemporary group, and I saw it in print, and it was just amazing seeing the pictures in print. And that's something that I really want to work on, is, you know, for these to be in print, for people to see them, and for people to think, actually, you know, these messages can help me. And that's something that I really want this project to do. And even I think this would be more of a future thing, to create a book to raise money for mental health. So, you know, I think even my own self, I love positivity books, and just looking at quotes and different messages. And I just feel like it'd be really nice in a book, where people could just pick up the book and have it as a little book which they keep by their side or on their desk, and just think, you know, have a little look through and just help them in some kind of way, or just to give them, I think, because everybody has a day where they're just not enjoying their day, and sometimes a little bit of a positive message can help just give you that little bit of a lift that you need. So yeah, so some of the feedback that I've been getting, so these are some of the feedback. So so some people have said about it going into print, so a book or an exhibition, a touring exhibition, which would be really good, because I think mental health is an issue that is worldwide as well. And you know, that would be amazing for more and more people to see these messages. People have said about YouTube, more in the media, so in TV, radio, news and magazines, and then shop windows. So a few people have said the amount of shop windows that are empty, you know, and for having those pictures on display. So at the moment, my aim is listening to people's comments and writing down and keeping a book of what, you know, what is it, what people think, and where do they feel it could go next. And then it's working on those comments and how is it that I can make that happen. But yeah, so that's my kind of thing that I'm doing, and still building the project. So something I thought I'd share this. This is from Orla and Emma, and they have so they're students at Birmingham University, and they actually expressed that mental health still matters post-pandemic, and it's true. Mental health does matter post-pandemic, and we had a chat, and you know, and these girls expressed that, you know, mental health, it's something, you know, that was before the pandemic, but even after the pandemic it's going to be harder, but we still need to work on it. And it's a subject that people don't like to talk about, and it's a subject that should be talked about. But I know as well, sometimes it's difficult to talk about that subject. If you're struggling, it's very difficult to open up. And so, you know, it might be, I just feel like sometimes reading a message, it just helps people. I think, you know, with my own experience with mental health, I would only let a few people know how I was feeling, and it is because you're scared and you don't want to open up to people. But yeah, I love that message. So mental health still matters post-pandemic. And yeah, so I'll just, yeah, if you're willing to stay in touch, and if you have any suggestions, you can reach out to me through the website, which is bridgewater-photography.com, and then also through the Instagram as well. So yeah, so if you did have any suggestions or you want to stay in touch, some people have reached out and said if they can join the project as well. So as everything's easing, I'd love that. I'd love to, let people get involved with the project as well. And just to end it, I just thought I'd end it with a few little mindfulness things. So, if you are feeling a bit crap today, go and take a walk outside, even if it's raining, or you could enjoy the sunshine, or you could pick up the camera. So I find for my own self, picking up the camera can really help heal the mind. It might be that you want to doodle or do a bit of gardening. So yeah, so I just thought I'd leave it on that little positive note, and just thank you for listening, everyone, as well. So I hope, I was thinking, I hope that is an hour.
No.
I haven't got
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think everybody's probably sitting here gobsmacked, wondering how can we help? What can we do to get this marvelous project even more coverage? But we've got some questions coming in. John Walmsley saying crowdfund your book. I think what you're doing and how you're doing it is wonderful and a good example of what photography can contribute. Have you looked ahead and thought where this archive could be housed in years to come?
Oh no, I haven't actually, no.
Well, it struck me as we were going through, and I can ask a question. It's all very easy for us, we all do it. We go out and take lots and lots and lots of photographs, and some of them are for projects.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, now what's going to happen to this project when these photographs and this project's over? Do you want to keep it? Does it deserve a wider audience? And I think it probably does. So I think that's something maybe to think about. And I think John's suggestion about crowdfunding the book is a good one. However, you've got to think it slightly further and say, have you been starting to think about talking to publishers or designers to help you get into print?
Oh, I've spoke to some, but I still feel like this project is still a working document, but it's still something that I think I want it to reach out to more and more people first. But that is something that I have done at the moment, reached out to see people's thoughts.
We have got one of our trustees from the Royal Arm, Avijit, who's saying we're following your project and it's part of the RPS strategy. So keep it going. It's wonderful. If you could
Donna, I just wanted to, hello there, Donna, it's Avijit here. I just wanted to say that we are delighted with your work and that we are planning to have a major initiative on well-being, particularly mental health well-being and photography. We're planning a conference on this, and of course you would be one of our invited speakers, and essentially plan to get together a lot of people. Your blog was one of 9 on mental health and well-being. That's a quarter of the blogs that we have produced during COVID, which indicates the importance that we attach to it. And this conference is to get people together, Donna, to identify best practice and to move forwards internationally on this issue of using photography for mental health. But I've got a question which you don't need to answer, and that is, what is the secret of your inner strength and being so nice?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a very, very nice person. My inner strength, people say that I am strong, but I think for me, I do struggle. But yeah, I think I kind of, I do a lot of meditation as well to help me through things. So I do, but yeah, it's, yeah, I try my best. I think, yeah, something that Leanne, like especially me and Leanne as a person, but living together, Leanne would always be looking to help people and like to help the homeless. And yeah, I think she kind of taught me a lot on how to be strong as well in ways, but also, yeah, how to enjoy the little things. So we'd go out on a walk and she'd be like just look at the trees and look at the colours and just enjoy. And yeah, and things. And she would just, yeah, just sitting on a bench as well, she'd be, yeah, yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Well,
But,
thank you for sharing that with us, Donna. Thank you. That's much appreciated.
Marcia Springer says it's a fantastic project, Donna. Your photography is honest and you have real integrity. And I think that's absolutely spot on.
thank you.
So if we run out of questions, but I think that's been marvelous. I'm going to stop sharing here because I'm going to show our last slide. But before we do that, just to say on behalf of myself and the Contemporary Group, on behalf of the Royal, to say thank you very much for it. It has been a fascinating, and I have to say, very affecting and inspiring talk. It is wonderful to hear people talk about mental health openly and candidly, something which is difficult for us to do. But it's wonderful to hear and great to see the breadth of talk that you've managed to put together and breadth of people you've spoken to. But I say thank you to Romney for co-hosting and capturing some of the questions. And an invitation then to our next talk, which is on the 21st of June, with Stacey Kranitz. Now, I think there's a link between your work, Donna, and that of Stacey, in that she embeds herself with communities which aren't often heard from in the Appalachian Mountains, and tells their story and how they're living, how they're managing to survive. And in a sense, it's a similar message to yours, that people are resilient, but that they do need an outlet. So that's on the 21st of June in 5 weeks' time. So before we finish, I'll just say a heartfelt thank you again, Donna.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, and thanks everybody for listening as well, and your comments and questions. I really do appreciate it. So thank you.